A Boogie just released his newest album, Me Versus Myself, and I feel like this one is kind of interesting. I feel like there definitely are a lot of solid songs on this album, and I think if you are a big fan of A Boogie, you will like this album because there's a lot of good songs like that. But I just think overall, it's a little bit too long. It's 23 songs, I think, or 22, and it's an hour and 8 minutes, and I feel like a lot of these songs sound very similar. So yeah, if you are a really big fan of A Boogie, you're going to like a lot of these songs, but I just think in general, this album isn't that good as a cohesive work, and just kind of seems like a playlist of a lot of songs that he liked and he's put out. But I think there are some, definitely some solid songs here, and I feel like especially the first one, Food for Thought, is a solid song, and I think a lot of the singles that he already put out are all pretty solid, but I just think it's a little bit, it drags on a little bit too long, and just as an album, it's pretty much an average album, as you see by the title. But let's go track by track review. Food for Thought, I like the production and the A Boogie's auto-tune sound on this one. His flow and delivery sound pretty solid on this song, and the song is pretty solid in my opinion, and it sounds good, especially for people who already like A Boogie and already like that kind of music. Then we go to Better Ride Out. The production is interesting and sounds a little different from his normal beats, but his stretched out delivery sounds pretty good. Roddy Ricch's verse also sounds pretty good and sounds like a more hard-hitting beat and something that Roddy Ricch would rap on versus A Boogie, but I still like how they switch off on the lines. I still think this song is pretty good. Then we got to Take Shots. I don't really like the chorus on this one, and I feel like the production's a little bit weird because of how the 808s and the bass hit. But I feel like it sounds pretty good with A Boogie's voice, and I don't like how Tory Lanez' verse starts off at the beginning, but I think his flow and delivery really start to hit as it goes on later in the song, and I feel like just overall in general, that is a really good song, and probably one of my favorites on the album, just because I feel like the Tory Lanez verse is really, really solid, but I think that the chorus is just not that amazing. Then we go to Water. I don't really like A Boogie's voice on this song, and I feel like this song isn't terrible. It's just a pretty okay song, but since it's called Drowning Part 2, it really doesn't live up to like the amazingness, in my opinion, of Drowning Part 1, which I think is a song that's really good and probably one of A Boogie's best, in my opinion. It's just such a catchy song. But I still think this one is like okay. I just feel like both of them are on a really just generic production-wise beat, and they can't really do that much on it. And then we go to Money Conversations. The production is okay, but not anything special. The beat does build up and get a little bit better, and I like how he flows over the song, as I feel like he really flows over well, but the song just drags on a little bit too much, and his flow gets a little bit boring just because he hasn't really changed it up at the end. It's kind of just the same flow over like a solid minute, and it gets a little boring, Then we go to Turn Off the Radio. I think the production sounds pretty vintage A Boogie style-wise, and I feel like his flow and delivery sound pretty solid, but the beat has some stops and drops on parts. I wouldn't really expect it to drop. The chorus, in my opinion, is a little boring and not just really that singable, and the song just lingers a little bit too long at the end. Then we go to Last Time. The production sounds like a YouTube A Boogie or G Herbo beat, but it does have some nice bass and 808s. I don't really like A Boogie's flow, and on the song, it doesn't really fit the beat. I don't like G Herbo's voice. I think that's how you say his name. I'm not 100% sure. I think his verse just doesn't really fit the song and A Boogie's vibe just on the total song. Then we go to Ballin'. I don't really like the production on this song. I think that A Boogie's flow is pretty good, but doesn't really work with a lot harder hitting beat as well. I think that his flow and delivery sound really good on this song, and I feel like they sound a lot better as he kind of turns up the whole pace of the song. Then we go to Emotions. It's a lot kind of a softer song compared to a lot of the other songs on the album. And I like the production a little, but A Boogie's vocals just don't really sound that great on this song. Then we go to Bounce Back. The production is just super generic on this one, and I feel like his flow at the beginning just doesn't sound that good, and I don't know. I just feel like it's not a great song at all. Then we go to Damn Homie. I actually really like this one. I like Lil Durk's verse on this song, and I feel like A Boogie's overall flow and delivery on this song is at least a little bit more unique than on a lot of the other songs on the album. And I feel like the Damn Homie part does get a little repetitive and doesn't sound as good later, like as you listen to the song more and more. But I mean, it's not terrible in my opinion. It just, I don't know, it just kind of gets boring. But I do like this song. I feel like it's a pretty solid one. Then we go to Chanelli. I don't like Don Q's voice, as I just kind of hate his voice on this one. It doesn't fit the song good. And it just, I'm pretty sure it's a verse and then, or a chorus and then a verse and then an A Boogie chorus again. And it's like, it just doesn't work that well in my opinion. And it's like a little bit too much Don Q. So I just don't like this one that much. Then we go to February in Regular, and I feel like the production is on both of these songs back to back It's just really generic, and his flow and delivery don't really add anything to the song. Soul Snatcher, I feel like the production is really stripped down. I like that A Boogie sounds really good on this song. I think that Lil Durk also sounds pretty solid, but it really isn't anything special on this one. I feel like his first verse was a little bit better. But I think both of these Durk songs sound really good. They'll go to Man in the Mirror. I feel like the production is pretty boring on this one, but I think that A Boogie's flow and delivery sounds really solid and works for the song. Back It Up, the direction is pretty good, and I like A Boogie's flow on this song. His chorus is pretty catchy. I feel like it's a pretty solid song. It just does linger a little bit too long for, my taste. Then we go to Play. The production is generic again, but I feel like A Boogie's flow is okay over the song. Overall, this album is fine, and it really is good if you already are an A Boogie fan or you do like his music, because I think a lot of these songs are songs that, I would like maybe a couple years ago when I was a lot more into A Boogie. But I feel like just the album as a whole just really gives me like a big playlist vibes. Like he's not putting these songs out here and trying to make an album. And while there are a lot of songs that I think people will really like, it's nothing to me. There's no really songs that I like as much as like I liked Me and My Guitar or Look Back at It or Still Think About You, which are songs that I feel like on A Boogie's last couple of albums, I'm like, oh, these are really standout songs. And if you put something together like this on an album, it'll sound really good. I just think this one is, it's a lot more of songs that he thinks people will like. And I think, well, people will like him if they're really big fans of A Boogie. I just think overall this isn't, a great album, which, is fine. I just think he's kind of been tailing off while he's had some big songs on the bigger artists in Hoodie season. I feel like ever since then, like Artist 2.0 didn't perform that well. And Before Ava, I don't even know what this like little EP is. And it actually did perform really well, but I feel like a lot of these aren't like actual albums to me, at least. They just seem a lot more like these big playlists that people that are big A Boogie fans will listen to, but there's not like as many actual songs that people like after that. I just feel like he's really been going downhill, but I still think this isn't a bad album. There just are a lot of songs that I don't really like, and I feel like it's just way too long of an album. An hour and 8 minutes isn't too long, but I feel like when it is so generic and when it is like this whole album is pretty similar to like the first song and the last song sound really similar. Like every song you could compare it to another one and be like, oh, this is a pretty similar song. I feel like that makes it really boring, and just overall the album isn't like that different from like every song sounds pretty similar in my opinion. And while you can listen to it all through, I just don't think it's something you would want to do. Either way, though, I feel like it's not a bad album. It's just nothing special. So I'm going to have to give it a 5 because I feel like it's pretty average.